Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. As she said, I am a 16-year veteran teacher. I started out doing high school and now I'm doing elementary. Um, so this session, we're going to talk about the effects of being outside and what it does for your social and emotional health and well-being. As a PE teacher, I was invited to do a professional development, and the professional development was Trails to Every Classroom that the ATC developed. This program was for educators to help educate younger students to get them out on the trail. And I did this in order to get my kids at a young age, get them aware of what their surroundings were. I'm in Smith County, and right after everybody goes to Grayson Highlands to see the ponies, you come down the mountain and you hit my schools. I pass the AT twice a day. So because of Trails to Every Classroom, I wanted to get these kids out and say, this is your back door. This is what is around you. We're going to use it. And in the process, the kids learned that they were happier. They explored more. They got to critical think more. So I decided, hey, well, let's see how many kids actually are doing well. So I started surveying them before we went out and then after we went out. And this slide shows you us on the trail. Besides just walking on the trail, they actually do booklets. They do their heart rate for PE. We do lead, foliage change, and many other things while we're on the trail. The big picture is a thru hiker. So they actually got to meet a thru hiker. And on the next slide, I will show you that we also did projects within the park. Now, this gave the kids a sense of belonging, a sense of pride, that they actually got to go actually hike and make something. So I was always taught experiences are better than memories. So if you're on this call right now, or if you're live, let me know what your favorite outdoor memory is, whether it was fishing or hiking, or if grandpa took you somewhere and you got ice cream and you sat out and watched the sunset. But these kids truly do remember me taking them hiking. And my younger kids see that now. They're like, we can't wait to go hiking. So it's a memory made. And they don't remember so much the stresses of us hiking. They just remember how they felt while they were out there doing it. And as a teacher, especially a PE teacher, a health and PE teacher, we are focused on social and emotional learning. So this is why we as educators do this. We want to educate and do across the spectrum. Okay. I read Last Child in the Woods by Richard Louv. Now, if you have read that, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't, please go read it. He's written 2 more books after that, I think. I know one of them was Vitamin N. And if you know what the last one is, let me know. I know there was another one. I know it came out last year and I haven't read it. But those books were very eye-opening because I have young kids and I teach young kids. And it was talking about the nature deficit and how all these kids, and like somebody on the Zoom call said, they were excited, but they had been on Zoom all day. And us being technology advanced, we use technology and we're not going outside. And there's been a plethora of studies that have shown that outdoors does all kinds of things. And on the next slide, we're going to talk about ecotherapy. Ecotherapy, and this is just, I stole this off the internet because seriously, between 2005 and today, there has been over 1,000 studies done on benefits of nature. And these are just a couple of them, of the benefits that nature can do for you. And as a PE teacher in a young group that I teach to, these are so important. The reducing of ADHD in young kids when you take them outside. There was another one. The nearsightedness, being outside helps with nearsightedness, being an open field. They have better problem solving skills. It increases their happiness, decreases any negative thoughts they have. It reduces depression and anger. And I try to take my kids out as much as I can. I'm a teacher. Yeah, I teach at a school, but we also have outdoor areas. And my kids know that we are going outside more than we are staying inside. The next slide is very interesting because all these come from studies. every single one of these. So if you're someone like, oh, my kids don't want to go outside, it doesn't really do anything, they get sunburned or they get eat up. Well, just 20 minutes in an open air gives you the boost of a cup of coffee. Okay, you can reduce your coffee and caffeine intake. Your vitamin D is, you get 100% of it within 10 to 15 minutes outside. Doctors are now, not all doctors, some doctors are prescribing prescriptions for people to go outside, because exercising outside leads to all kinds of euphoric feelings, which we're going to talk about in just a minute, leads to increased white blood cells for killer cancer cells, which we're going to talk about again. But it also improves memory, cognition, recall, coordination, and balance in young kids. So outside is more than just being outside in nature. It also helps your body. And educators are now starting to realize that more, especially now with this pandemic going on. We have kids who are coming back to school that have to wear masks. And Ms. Hall is going to talk about later on about how the pandemic has increased families being in the local parks and outdoor areas. But on the next slide is the fun slide. Now, this is going to talk more about the socialization part. Write me a chat or give me a thumbs up if you've ever been to trail days. I mean, for real. It's in Damascus, Virginia. It is 10 minutes from where I live. If you've ever been there, it is amazing. This is part of, you know, your overall health. And I put this in before I talked about all the socialization and health. But if you've ever been to trail days, it is a big gathering in Damascus, Virginia, which runs right through, the AT runs right through Damascus. And it's a gathering of all the hikers. It's, oh, what is the music festival out west? It's the big one. I just lost it. Someone help me out. What's the big music festival? Somebody knows it. I know you do. But it's the big music festival. That's where all the hikers go. Well, this is where all the hikers go. But the story behind this is the hikers come, they celebrate, they get together, and it's a community-wide effort. They may hike on the trail alone, but society, you know, makes them go off on their own. They come together and they all have an experience. They've all hiked a trail, so they have a commonality in common. Okay. Yes, Burning Man. Thank you, Tracy. Burning Man. That's what I was trying to think of. Thank you so much. So if you've never been to trail days, I suggest you go. There is a parade. There's a water gun. There is a water gun fight between the hikers and the people in the town. There is a talent show. There's all kinds. It's great times, and you see the people dressing up for the parade at the bottom. Okay, but this is just showing you the social aspect of being on the trail. Okay, most people think, well, a lot of people go through hikes and they're by themselves. Well, they may be by themselves at the time, but when they come together, they all share a common bond. I got online and I did a little research because that's what I do. And some of the socialization and some of the reasons that people hike, they wrote down, and here are just a few examples of them. Some people say it's a test of personal will and strength. It's a calling. It's a sense of freedom, a goal, something I can prove myself or prove that I can do, to learn what truly matters, to know oneself, to find purpose in life, to reconnect with nature. Life is short, enjoy it, new people, find yourself, and a mental challenge. All these things are what we are trying to do in life. And on the next slide, we're going to talk about we're going to talk about the signs of socially healthy people. Okay. And if you see, the bottom one is finding joy in life. Okay. A lot of people, and Bent Mackay made this trail when he came back and to find a purpose in life. And, you know, he came back from war and didn't really know the direction of his life. So he made this trail. And a lot of people who have come back have got on this trail. If they're going through a rough time in their life, they hike the trail to find their purpose and meaning in life. So this is just some of the things that I found working through the research. And, you know, the trail brings everybody together. And it's not just having supporting friends and family. You have to have that when you're on the trail. You have to have those drops. You have to have people that'll pick you up. We have individuals that I know in this community that bring hikers off the trail and let them sleep in their houses. So it's not just individually, it's a social network of people building each other up. Okay, so on the next one, I do believe this is Maslow's hierarchy of need. Okay, we all learned this in psychology class. He came up with this because he wanted to describe the human basic needs that we need in life. And it started, at the bottom, physiological needs, food, water, shelter. Okay, and then you go to the next, the shelter part, not the next one, sorry, Chloe, but the next level of Maslow's hierarchy of needs is fire, safety, and then socialization needs is the next one, self-esteem and self-actualization. But he developed these because he wanted to describe, in order to understand human basic needs. This is why he described this. So it goes in a circle. On the right side, you'll see it's a health triangle. Okay, we can't be physically fit and emotionally and socially healthy. So once we have all those, they all work together and we are healthy. So when we get our physical, which you get from hiking, emotional, which we're going to do a little forest bathing here in a minute, and I want to describe how your brain becomes a little bit more healthy by doing all this fun stuff in the next couple of slides. But then also the socialization part. You may hike alone, but you also have a common thread, and you also have, hikers who have been on the same path. There's always something commonality. Well, hey, did you stop at Hot Springs and did you get something to eat from so-and-so? Or did you see the tree as you passed by? Or did you walk across the bridge at Harper's Ferry? Is it open yet? Things like that. People have a commonality and it bonds them. So they kind of gravitate towards that. And it makes everybody healthy, and you need that for human basic needs, is that socialization part. Harvard did a study. This is also in my research. Harvard did an 80-year study that showed over the course of time that and it was a long study, that the quality of closeness, social relations is the best predictor of health and happiness. Not cholesterol, not your blood serum, but the quality of our close social relations. Okay, that's important. That's very important. And I just thought it was wild. So also they found out that this was on a TED talk, that loneliness kills is as powerful as smoking or alcoholism. So give me a thumbs up or a heart if you like that study. I like the study of, hey, you need to socialize there, people. All right. If the issues, the health issues related to poor social health are increase of heart attack, chronic disease, high blood pressure, increased cortisol, which puts on weight for some people, increased inflammation, cancer, anxiety, and depression. So this is why we have to have that health triangle and make sure all those facets are working together. That makes us all healthy. All right. On the next one, I'm talking about this kind of fast because I want to do the forest therapy. It's awesome. I'm excited. All right, so I'm going through the boring part real quick. Emotional. Emotional is, I didn't put mental on here because I don't like mental. Emotional is kind of the same as mental, but emotional help is a person's ability to manage feelings through change and challenges. So I know with this pandemic, a lot of people are feeling it. As a teacher, I know my students are feeling it, and I know my parents are as well. So we're trying to educate, and this is a good time to have this talk and let the parents know what all this truly means. So to be self-aware, that means that you have the ability to redirect your emotions, self-acceptance, you're able to handle adversity, self-care. This is what we all need to be doing. And this is why we're talking about this and getting ready to do a little forest bathing, is we all need self-care. That means caring for your physical body, okay? Emotional agility to navigate setbacks and adversity, coping skills to be resilient, Kindness, we all need to be kind. Right now, it's a rough time in our world, and people are not being nice to one another. And we just got to remember we're all in this together, and just be nice. It's hard at times, I know, but just be nice. Living with a purpose is focusing on how your experience can help others. So, I've been hiking, and I'm teaching these kids at the college, trying to teach them the right way to hike and to live through my experience. Whatever my experience was, I'm trying to help and let them grow on my mistakes, just like my children. But also, a last one, manage distress. And we're going to find out why on the next slide. This is the coolest thing ever. Okay, I found this little guy, and the glyph on the right-hand side is a molecule of protein. It's supposed to be serotonin, maybe? I don't know what the molecule is supposed to be, but it's a protein molecule, and it's dragging along endorphins, okay? And I think it's cool because it looks like it's walking or hiking. So that's our whole purpose, is exercise in my area makes endorphins, okay? Endorphins makes you happy. And I know a lot of people are like, well, how does that happen? Well, it all happens in the brain, okay? Endorphins are a large group of proteins or peptides, okay? And they're produced in the pituitary gland, and they're a part of the central nervous system. So anytime we have a biochemical reaction, and that means just a rush of hormones through your body, we're going to produce endorphins. And this is what it looks like. And it's pretty awesome. I found this. But serotonin is also involved. It's a mood booster. Okay. It makes you feel happy and makes you feel important. Dopamine. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter. It plays a role in how we think and plan and do things. So exercise really increases the release of these. I think the next slide is one of the reasons why we get all these neurotransmitters to release. So I didn't know this until I met Tina, and you're going to meet Tina in the next slide. But the photonosides, sorry, I always mispronounce that, sorry, is basically pheromones. Pheromones, as we know, are releases of chemicals that we have in our bodies that animals smell, or we can smell. But they are released by different types of plants. And I researched those plants, and here are a couple. You got cedar, garlic, locust, oak, pine, tea tree, and one other, onion. So those plants release a pheromone, which is a chemical. You can smell it on certain people, but it's the forest smell. I don't know if y'all have ever walked through a deep forest and had a forest smell. I don't know how to describe it, but if you know how to describe it, let me know in the chat. But, or in your words, describe how the forest smells to you. Okay. But hiking stimulates this. And when it stimulates our brain, it reduces, or when we're hiking and we smell these photosides, it releases neurogenesis, which is a new growth of neurons and cells in our brain. So, when we smell this also, and there was a study done, and you'll see it on the right side, which I can't really read because I have my chat box over there, but increase of natural killer cells, okay, which are white blood cells that attack and reject tumors and viruses. So there was a study done, and it showed that people who spent an overnight trip in the woods 7 days later still had an increase in these natural killer cells within their blood. So this shows that being outside boosts our immune system and helps those natural killer cells. And those natural killer cells are just a line of defense for our body. So this is getting into the next part, and the next part is going to be the fun part, because this is just one of the ecotherapies that you can possibly do. An ecotherapy is a therapy that you do outside in nature. Grounding is where you touch the ground and you get the ions, the positive ions that come up through your skin from the earth. That is just one nature way of an ecotherapy. And the next slide is going to be the fun slide, because Tina is going to talk about forest therapy, and we're going to actually maybe do one. All right.
Thanks, Ashley. So what I want to do is give a brief introduction to forest therapy, and then of course I'd like to lead us into a quick 5-minute practice to show you how easy it is. So if you haven't heard of forest therapy, it's also been called nature therapy or forest bathing. It originated in Japan in the early 1980s, and they coined the term Shinrin-yoku, which translates to forest bathing, which means bathing in the forest air. Forest therapy is this practice of mindfully immersing yourself in nature using your senses to promote health, wellness, healing, and happiness. So it's less about going on a hike or trying to get to any destination, and more about being where you are, slowing down. And it's this slowing down that helps us connect and helps us to deepen our relationship with nature. And it's in that relationship itself that creates this field of healing, as well as bringing this source of joyful well-being. So researchers believe that forest therapy works because it connects us back to our natural state, which is in harmony with nature. Our natural state is where we're healthy, we're happy, our bodies and minds are balanced, but more importantly, we're in balance with nature, which means we have this understanding or this sense of knowing that we must protect and preserve nature in order for nature to be healthy and thrive, because if it doesn't thrive, we don't thrive. So when we talk about the therapy in nature, when we talk about forest therapy or nature therapy, what do we mean by that? When we talk about therapy, we don't mean it in the context that as a guide, I'm taking people in the woods and counseling them. So this ANFT, the association where I became a guide, has this great saying: the forest is the therapist, the guide opens the doors. So as a guide, it's really my job to facilitate this mindfulness, to guide participants in these sensory activities that help to slow the body and the mind, to help participants become present, so that not only do they optimize their health and wellness benefits, but they also optimize their experience with connecting to nature. And it's nature that really provides these therapeutic benefits, or you could also call them healing or medicine. So if you ever heard anybody talk about the forest having the medicine or being the medicine, that's what that means. And so all these great benefits that Ashley mentioned are these therapeutic benefits that nature provides. And the best thing about this practice is that it's one of the simplest things you can do for your health. So it's as simple as sitting under a tree, breathing in the air. And it's accessible to anybody, and it can be done anywhere. So this means that if you're stuck indoors, you're in a hospital, you're sick, you're physically limited, you can absolutely practice this indoors, just as long as you have some natural element. So this natural element can be anything from an indoor plant. It can be a window where you can see the outdoor scenery. It can be essential oils like wood oils or floral oils. It could even be playing nature sounds on YouTube. So those are just some examples of these nature elements. So before we go to the next slide, using chat, does anybody want to guess, based on the Environmental Protection Agency, on average, what % of time do Americans spend indoors? Does anybody want to take a guess at that? All right, next slide. So yes, somebody may have seen this. Yes, we spend 90% of our time on average indoors. That means we're only spending an average of 90 or 10% of our time outdoors. And that's just not enough time for us to really connect to nature. And we're also missing out on these great benefits that nature provides us. So it only takes 3 elements to practice forest therapy. Number 1, you need nature, of course. Number 2, using your senses. You can use 1 or 2 or all of your senses, as long as you're just focusing on the sensory stimuli that's available in nature. And then you need this slowness or stillness, because it's the slowness that helps us to connect to nature and brings these constant doses of positive emotions like the sense of awe and wonder and joy, happiness, feelings of gratitude, feeling like you're connected to something bigger than yourself. So what are some ways we can incorporate forest therapy into our activities? Well, as long as you have these three elements, then you could absolutely practice this anywhere, and you can do this with any activity. So some great examples are just being in the park. There's so many things you can do at your local park, your local state or national parks. You know, you could go on a picnic. You can take your hammock and just lay and enjoy, you know, nature. You can sit on a bench. You can focus on just a small part of the park or even a trail. Fishing or boating or paddleboarding or becoming a naturalist, doing naturalist duties. These are ideas of practicing forest therapy while you're doing these other activities, because these activities, you have all three of these elements. You tend to be slow or still in these types of activities. So on the next slide, some more examples. The beach is a great example of how we naturally practice this nature therapy. Think about it. When you go to the beach, you might go for a weekend or a week, and think about how you feel when you come back. You feel so restored and rejuvenated. And that's because you're spending most of your time outdoors. So take that back with you when you come back from the beach and use this same mindset in your local areas. Go to your parks, go to your local trails, even in your yard, just because you're going to end up getting these same benefits by spending time in your local areas like you do at the beach. And then, of course, spending more time in your yard, your garden, or on your porch. And sit spot. So sit spot is exactly what it sounds like. You find a spot that you feel drawn to, or that you can go to on a consistent basis that's convenient, and you take a seat and you notice what unfolds around you. And so I always recommend you do 20 minutes minimum, because it takes about 20 minutes to really slow down. But even if you don't have 20 minutes, that's perfectly fine. Just as long as you're getting outside to make this a consistent practice is what matters. The 5-minute nature break is actually what we're going to do in just a minute, so I'll skip that one. Follow the lead of your kids and pets. So kids and pets do this forest therapy quite naturally because they live at the present moment. They don't have all these responsibilities and stresses and worries that adults have. And so watch what your kids and pets do and just follow their lead. And then consider a guided practice. So a lot of us have a hard time really slowing down. And so a guide can really help us to not only slow down, but can give us permission to slow down, because sometimes we feel guilty. We feel like we're wasting time, or we have to be productive when we're doing things. So it's a great way to give you permission to just enjoy and explore nature. So if you want some more resources about forest therapy, I've put the link here for the Association of Nature and Forest Therapy Guides and Programs. And this is an international association that that's goal is to really promote this forest therapy practice and getting people out in nature. They also provide a lot of science behind spending time outdoors. And if you're interested in a guide, there is a map available. So consider looking for a guide in your area. And if you have general questions about forest therapy, you can certainly reach out to these guides because they're very passionate about sharing this practice. So on the next slide, what I want to do is this quick 5-minute practice to show you how easy it is to practice forest therapy. And so if you're indoors, that's perfectly okay. Just take what you have in your environment. And then I'd recommend that after this program, consider going outdoors and practicing this for another 5 minutes, and notice the difference between doing this indoors and outdoors, how there's so much more sensory stimuli available in nature. And that's exactly why we use our senses when we practice forest therapy. So I'm going to cut my video out just so you guys can focus on my voice. And so what I want you guys to start with is, I want you to start with your sense of sight and just notice what you see around you. Maybe notice the colors, the shapes, the patterns, maybe anything that's moving, and we'll focus on our sense of sight for just a minute. And now let's move to our sense of hearing. So notice the types of sounds that you hear. Maybe notice the closest sound or the furthest sound. And we'll focus on our sense of hearing for just a minute. And now let's move to our sense of smell. So slowly breathe in through the nose and notice what kind of smells Maybe move your head back and forth and see if there's a smell that's stronger in one direction than another. And we'll focus on our sense of smell for just a minute. And now let's focus on our sense of touch. So you can put your hands, palms facing up on your lap, or if you're outside, you can sort of wave them in the air to see what you can feel in the air. Maybe even feel the way your clothes feel against your skin. And we'll focus on our sense of touch for just a minute. And now let's focus on our sense of taste. So slowly breathe in through your mouth. Imagine that you're sucking air through a straw, and let the air pass by your tongue. Notice if you can pick up on any tastes in the air, and we'll focus on our sense of taste for just a minute. So ANFT recommends that you do a minimum of 2 hours of spending time in nature per week. And that doesn't have to be all at once. It can be cumulative. So you can do it a little bit one day here and another day there. So that's the minimum to maintain these benefits. And really, the more you spend time in nature, the more it's going to optimize your health and wellness. So that's all that I have, and I'm going to send it on over to Tanya.
Hello, everyone. Don't y'all just love the outdoors? Tina and Ashley have given us even more reasons to love the outdoors now. Tina has been actually volunteering here at Hungry Mother State Park for about 2 years now, and the program has really, the forest therapy that she assists everybody with has really taken off this year. We've had a great turnout for that program in the evenings. I know during the pandemic, there's been a lot of negativity in our lives. There's been a lot of, confusion. There's been a lot of unrest, which leads to depression and anxiety, and not only in older adults, but also in younger kids. But even though this is a crazy time, I see some positives going on in this time also. If you think about it, this is one time that I feel that the world is trying to pull together to come up with a vaccination. I see families spending more and more time together. I mean, we've been forced to, so why not enjoy it? But I think a lot of families are coming to get to know each other better. They're getting to spend that quality time instead of just running back and forth, running past each other as they go through the doors. And then another thing is we found out that being outdoors is safer than being indoors. And so a lot of people have returned or finding interest in the outdoors, which I think is fabulous. I know, as both Tina and Ashley have said, there's so many positive benefits for being outdoors. And I know when I'm sitting at my desk and I have a lot of work piling up and it just seems like, you don't have enough time, you get stressed, I go for a hike. I might go for just a short hike, which is kind of easy since I work here at the park. But even if you don't work at the park, you can go outside. Like Tina said, just go take a few minutes. But I know when I go hiking, within just a few minutes, I start feeling so much better. I can just feel the stress running out of me. Even though I still have all those jobs still that I have to go back to, I feel more relaxed. I feel, I just feel better. I feel like I can breathe easier. I can think clearer. So just getting outside really just helps me just de-stress. And I had read an article, I don't know, a couple months ago, and it was about plants, and plants talk to each other. Now, I have absolutely no idea what they say to each other. Hey, this is my route. Get out of you're too close, social distance. I don't know what they say to each other, but they talk to each other through chemicals. And Ashley went kind of over it a little bit with the phytoncides, but they talk with chemicals to each other. And they also defend themselves against insects with chemicals. And with these chemicals, when we're out in these green areas, our body actually absorbs these chemicals. And as our body absorbs these chemicals, it protects us from diseases and cancer. It helps us de-stress. So really, it is all these chemicals and all these green areas that are really helping our bodies to de-stress and to live a healthier life. And the one great thing I have noticed at Hungry Mother State Park, And I think a lot of other people and at other parks have noticed that a lot of people are going outside. We've noticed an increase this year of people coming to the parks. The trailheads are packed with bikers and hikers, and it's just not the favorite trailheads anymore. It's all the trailheads. The swimming beach, we actually had to close a couple times throughout the weeks because we had so many people here that we had to shut it down to have some people leave before more people could come in. We've noticed that the kayaks, oh my goodness gracious, I'm looking for a kayak myself right now, and you can't find any. And I think that's because they're all out here at Hungry Mother State Park. We have tons of kayakers, tons of canoers, lots of paddle boarding going on. So really, I mean, we really have noticed a huge increase. The campgrounds are full, not just through the weekends, but they're full the whole week. A lot of times we'll have spots in other years during the week, you'll have openings, but not anymore. There's been many people that I have heard say they can't get a place at the parks because they're so packed. Which this is all good. That means people are coming outside and are enjoying it. So, so you wonder, you know, you're like, okay, well, I'm outdoors now. I'm getting my families outdoors. So what can we do? Well, all within an hour. Southwest Virginia is actually pretty lucky because we have so many options to do outside. We can hit the next slide. Virginia State Parks, there is and I'm just talking about within about an hour and a half of Hungry Mother State Park, there's 5 other state parks that are that close. And each one of these state parks have different things that people can go out and enjoy. You know, most of them have hiking trails and all that, but there's something different at each and every one of the Virginia State Parks. For instance, like Hungry Mother State Parks, we have our little lake, and plus we have Molly's Knob, which is a beautiful overlook. Grayson Highlands has the ponies. Everybody loves to go see the ponies, but they also have bouldering, and the Appalachian Trail runs through Grayson Highlands State Park. I have a question for everybody to answer in chat. How many state parks does the Appalachian Trail run through? And remind me if I don't answer that after this slide, remind me and I'll tell you all the answers. Claytor Lake, go to Claytor Lake and you can rent pontoons and larger boats. The New River Trail State Park, it has a 58 mile trail, rail to trail bike path. You can also rent horses there and go horseback riding. Natural Tunnel, if you love trains, that's the state park for you, and the geology is amazing. And our newest state park that we have, the Clinch River State Park, it is going to be our very first Blue Ways State Park. And what I mean by that is all the accesses are going to be at the river, on the river. So you can put in on the river, so you can go canoeing and kayaking, and you also be able to camp on the river. So it's our very first Blue Way State Park. So we're really excited about it. There's also, how many of you guys have been to a state park within the last, say, 3 months? And which state park was it? So, and to answer the questions about the Appalachian Trail, someone got the answer right. It was 2. It is Grayson Highlands State Park and, it just Sky Meadows. It about went out of my head. Sky Meadows State Park. So, next slide, please. So we have Virginia Natural Area Preserves and Natural Heritage Sites. These are some people have never even heard of some of these sites. They're absolutely beautiful. They have lots of different special types of habitats. There's something very special about these preserves and heritage sites. And like the channels, if you have not been to the channels, it's an amazing, it's like a rock maze. You walk through a maze of rocks, and the geology is just amazing. The pinnacles are known for their wildflowers in the spring. They have all sorts of rare and endangered wildflowers. That is a picture of the big Cedar Creek Falls at the pinnacles. And the pinnacle rises about 400 foot over Cedar Creek there. The Cleveland Barrens is it's a special type of habitat that's not found in Virginia in many places. It's made of dolomite barrens. It just has its own little habitat. And Buffalo Mountain is another place that has just numerous rare plants and animals up there. And Grayson Glades is a small little area that is a special rare wetland. So again, this is just the tip of the iceberg on the Virginia Natural Area Preserves. There are probably, I'd say probably at least 25, maybe a few more than that, but lots of special places. And you can go and you can, find your passion, find out what you're interested in, and then you can find a great place somewhere to try out that new hobby or that passion of yours. So there's, next slide, please. We have other recreation areas. They are run by the Department of Wildlife Resources, which used to be called the Department of Game and Inland Fisheries. It is now Department of Wildlife Resources, and the National Forest. So they have all sorts of places you can get out and enjoy. Southwest Virginia is we're just so lucky of all the sites that we have here to go to and practice our social distancing and get out and learn about the outdoors. But some of the places that, the Cascade National Recreation Trail, that is a gorgeous trail that takes you to a gorgeous waterfall, and you can swim down there. If you've not been to the Clinch Mountain Wildlife Management Area in the spring, that is a must go to see Big Tumbling Creek and all the wildflowers in that area. It is absolutely just one of my favorite places. You have Laurel Bed Lake, and you have Hidden Valley Lake. You have Mount Rogers National Recreation Area, that you have all the different types of campgrounds. You have the Virginia Creeper Trail, the Appalachian Trail that runs through there. You have just the Virginia Highlands Horse Trail. So I mean, there's something for every interest out there, and it's so close to us. So next slide, please. So we have once you get out there, it's great to have, so once you get out to nature, it's great to learn about nature while you're out there too. So some of our phone apps are wonderful ways that we can learn about nature. One of the ones that I really like around here is for the All Trails. It's a great, it tells you about all the big trails, but it also tells you about all the little tiny trails that you have. So it's a great way to plan your trip. Kjarn is a kind of a safety app for when you're hiking. So it lets you lay out a plan, and then you can set your the people who you want to notify, just in case you get lost or you don't come back. Then the app will notify these people that saying, hey, they're not back yet, you need to go look for them. So that's a great safety app. You have geocache.com, which is an awesome app for getting intergenerationals. Get your grandparents out there with the grandkids. Go out and find these little special hidden treasures in the woods. But you also have Seek and iNaturalist are two great ways to identify. If you're an individual that likes to identify things, take a picture of it, and iNaturalist and Seek will help you identify it, and then they'll also help teach you about the plant a little bit. And I say plant, but it could be any organism. It might be a butterfly, it might be an insect, it might be a bird, which leads into Siblings and Merlins. Those are two birding apps that I really like. Merlin is for beginners, and Siblings is just a great app altogether, and you can hear the bird sounds and everything. I know there's so many apps out there today. If you guys will just share some in the chat with each other about what your favorite phone app is and for nature, share it with us so that we can all maybe take a look at different apps and find the ones that we like. So next slide, please. So I know during the pandemic, again, there's a lot of depression going around, and one of the best ways to help depression, to help yourself, is to go out and volunteer. Right now, there is so many, the state parks, all the people that I talked about, Forest Service, the state parks, the Appalachian Trail Conservancy, the Department of Wildlife Resources, they're low on staff, they're low on funds. There's so many jobs that need to be done and they just don't have the personnel to do it. There's other, private organizations, the Virginia Master Naturalists. I think I saw something earlier. Somebody asked what a naturalist is. I know Tina is a Virginia Master Naturalist, as I am myself. And all that is somebody that loves nature. A naturalist is somebody that loves nature and that likes to go out and learn about nature and can teach others about nature. So there's a great program called the Virginia Master Naturalist. It's a class, you take it, and then you can become a Virginia Master Naturalist, and you can go out and volunteer. And that is one of the best ways to make yourself feel better and to give back to your community. So these are just some web addresses that if you're interested in any of these places, you can take a look at it and contact that agency. Just for a little bit of fun, there was a survey that was done, and it said that there was one thing that most people were afraid of outdoors. So what is the one thing that people are most scared of outdoors? I'm going to give you all about 15 seconds just to type in your answer. Bears, I see. Snakes, bears again. Other people. Bugs. The weather. All right, well, let's see what it is. Tigers. Everybody's afraid of tigers. So I'm not sure exactly why you're afraid of tigers, but I tell you right now, if you're out in Virginia and probably most states around us, you don't have to really be afraid of tigers. So don't be afraid of getting outdoors. Don't be afraid of the tigers. Get out a little and just enjoy nature and what it has to offer. All these organizations and agencies I was talking about, they have programs, they have workshops, they have webinars, sort of like this Adventures webinar. Just get out there and learn about nature and get out there, enjoy it, and you will receive all these well-beings and all these benefits that nature provides. And say thank you for attending today.